Cool. Welcome to our monthly Think Big session for the package group. Today we have a few items on the agenda. It looks like Ian is first.
Yes. So Think Big is becoming official, more official. We're adding a handbook page in the UX department. You can check out the merge request and review app. Feel free to take a look and provide any feedback on how other teams could use Think Big and how to be successful and things that we should avoid, stuff like that. So feel free to jump into that. Next up, I think, is Tim.
Cool. This is more of just a quick update on some of the work that we're doing on the problem and solution validation. So if we were planning on doing solution validation for the dependency proxy this iteration, but it's been really challenging recruiting people. So we're working with the account managers and sales to try and work with our existing customers to do this, as well as reaching out to people in the issues. For 13.3, we're working on the problem validation for more granular permissions for the container registry. Some frequent requests that we hear from customers saying that they want to have more fine-grained control. It seems like as we're re-architecting things, it might be a good time to revisit this. And then after that, we'll focus on sharing and discovery and really trying to zoom in on the inner sourcing problem for sharing images. So it's kind of what we have lined up in terms of validation. Any questions on that? No. Okay, on to Ian then.
Equally quick highlight and update about what we've been doing on the design side. This milestone has been very busy and we made a lot of progress in a lot of different directions. One big thing is that Maria on the configure team is working on a design for a new registry. It's going to start with Terraform and include that infrastructure as code modules. I think Puppet is another example of what could go in there. We've been working on the design, making sure that it's in line with the rest of the package designs, and it's been pretty cool because what we've done design-wise is flexible enough to handle this new registry, which means expanding from a design perspective could be easy for our stage. It was nice to kind of get that validation. Another thing we're working on is the package registry UI polish. We've been working on it for quite a while now and made a bunch of changes, and so we are going through from a design view and trying to just polish it and refine it to make it look even better than it already does. Some of the lightweight issues are as easy as there's this line in here that we don't need it to be there anymore. Let's remove it. Some of them are technical issues, which Nico is the expert on, and I'm not going to dive into because I don't understand them. And one of the big things is updating the package detail UI. We're actually going to be doing a design review of that, so we'll get into that in a bit. But that's what we're working on in terms of polishing the UI. And then we are also working on the second iteration for the cleanup policy settings. We got some feedback from our users, and it wasn't quite clear all the time what they're doing with the expiration policy, and it has a really big impact on the organization. So we're working on refining the UI, make it as absolutely crystal clear as possible. So if you have any experience with cleanup policies or anything close to that, please dive into that issue and provide as much feedback as you can. I really want to make sure this next iteration is crystal clear again to our users. So feel free to jump into that. Any questions on what we're working on design-wise?
Which one are you most excited about?
I am most excited about the package registry UI update. We'll see the design, but I've been trying to get rid of the 2-column table, tab, and a tab situation for a long time now, and we finally have a solution. So that's the one I'm most excited about.
Nice.
All right. There are no other questions. We'll jump into the design review. And always have to get this right. So we have all done this before, so I'm not going to go over the rules. We're going to be doing it on the package detail page. For a refresher, this is the current package detail page. This is for an NPM package. There's a couple of variances, but in general, this is what a package detail will look like. We are updating it to something that will look like this. A lot of the information is just polish. A big change that I want to point out is instead of the metadata table at the first thing, we have this history section, which tells you how the package was created, the install commands underneath it, and then we have additional metadata where, depending on the package type, there's additional pieces of information. I think NuGet has a license URL, for example. We're going to be putting that into this additional metadata section. We cleaned up the files and are trying to make it look a little bit more modern. And then at some point in the future, add the README if the package already contains a README file. We'll throw that at the bottom to kind of capture that use case we hear of a lot. Any questions before we dive in? Take your resounding silence as a no. First up in the hot seat will be Nico. Also, I made one change. I put the order on my screen so that we don't have to switch back and forth. Just remember, when you're done with your feedback, call out the next person.
Should we take the notes right under the topic there, or you want them at the end of ThinkBIG, because they tend to be?
Sure, that would work.
Shall I go immediately?
Yes, please.
Yes, question. Is the on the sub header there is like a pipeline symbol? Do we plan to expand on that? Is it clickable? Is it a tooltip? Is it I can copy paste it? Is it a link to the pipeline or the merge request actually?
So this icon is actually a branch, and the idea would be that you could hover, get the full branch name, and then click on it, and it will go to the branch detail page. We'll have to make sure that it's clear that it's a branch. There's always a danger when you use just an icon that it won't convey the message clearly.
How do we plan to end that for forks? If I can end again there.
That's a good question. I would imagine we could add an additional metadata that kind of explains the fork, but I'll have to look into it. I haven't explored that yet.
Okay, so Tim, it's your turn.
Okay. How do you feel about the labels up top? I see we have beta and another label.
I like them. I think this represents how people think about them in terms of they're an additional piece of metadata attached to a package. We could definitely ask users how they feel about it, though.
I don't hate it. I just it caught my eye, and I'm not sure if it was supposed to catch my eye or if it's something that's where I would be looking for that information.
I can look at pulling down the affordance a little bit, maybe using the hollow pill. So it's a white or blue outline and white with blue text. So it's a little lighter.
Okay. On to Joan.
Isn't a project name in the subheader redundant? Because we can already see what project we are, right? So that's just a repetition.
That's a really good point. I don't know if it's really necessary to include in there, considering that the project name would in theory be up here. The only reason I put it in there originally was if you were looking at a group and then you click on a detail, it would be nice to see the project name, but I'm not sure if that's necessary. We could look at moving that out.
Okay, maybe show it only at the group level and not at the project level.
That is another great solution.
That's it, Ellie.
Yeah, I guess I'm curious about the ordering of the, should like history be at the top, or I think install commands might be more something that people might be more getting more often. And I was wondering if that would be at the top, if that's a little more convenient location.
That's a good piece of feedback. We've gotten data that shows us both. If the pipeline is included in the history, that's the most important thing that they will look at to understand what happened with this package. If there isn't a pipeline, then what you're saying is 100% correct. They just want the install instructions and to move on. So I have moved them back and forth about 100 times and have never picked which one is actually better.
Got it. Are the install instructions? They can get them from without the going into detail view, can't they? Or are they somewhere else?
I don't remember if we included them on the list view. It doesn't look like we do, but that could be a shortcut we could explore. Or it's just like the npm command or whatever the pull command would be.
Yeah, I think that might be. I guess that's a little broad, but that might be a cool thing to do. Is just have like a little, give me my command, quick
Yeah.
copy paste thing.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, I think that's a big piece of feedback. On to David.
So to me, I will comment again the same comment I did in the design. The first time I saw this screen, I totally missed the version. So the package name and the version are the two central pieces for the backend for a package. We might want to give more focus on the version string.
That is and was a great piece of feedback, and I just haven't quite figured out how to solve it, but I'm still keeping it in mind for sure.
Over to Nico.
Yeah. So question, maybe I mentioned this already. Would it make sense to unify the style commands similar to what we have CLI commands in the registry and hide them behind the drop-down menu so that they are still on the top and there's just much less real estate?
That is a great idea, I think, and something we should explore. And we could mimic the behavior of the clone project if you look at a project detail page, where it is a dropdown and we have something similar in the container registry. Yeah, we should definitely explore that.
We don't see any drop off really for the container registry either. Like for people clicking the button, like there's a very high success rate of people that expand it and then still copy something. So it's originally I would have responded and said, well, are we concerned about people getting to it? But it seems like for the container registry, they're doing it no problem.
That's awesome. Yeah, let's look at, I'll put some designs together around pulling that into a dropdown similar to what we have elsewhere. That's a cool idea, Nico.
I think it's Tim's turn.
I think mine's less of a question about this design, but I see the history here, and I'm wondering, does this also show up in the GitLab activity feed, or is that something that we would need to address separately?
I need to clarify the question. Is it the design that we're replicating that you're asking about, or are you asking if the information we see here
I guess
should
both.
also be in the activity feed?
Yeah, I guess both. Or yeah.
Yeah, so from a design standpoint, I pulled this from an issue history. So if you look, or a merge request is a better example, and you add a commit and there's a timeline that happens, similar design. In terms of the activity feed, I wonder if it would be useful for users if we add this like publish to the registry as an event in the activity feed, but I'm not quite sure if the rest of the data would be worth that high level of importance.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. At least the published information might be interesting. Anyway, sorry, I'm just thinking outside things. I love this design, that's why.
Thank you.
onto job.
Yeah, I don't think I have any more feedback. I think the rest is pretty good. So I'll pass on to Ailey.
Yeah, let me see if I can be really nitpicky.
Oh, I love it. I love nitpicky.
Um, what happens as the history grows larger?
Good question. As far as I'm aware, this is all of the information that could be in the history, because anything else would result in a new version, which means it would kind of start the whole history over. It could be that you see some more of these updates. I'm not sure. Currently, we don't have that. But if we
Okay.
do start to add more update history and see that evolve, we may want to have either change the ordering around or have an expandable idea where we show the beginning of the history and then you click a button to see more of it.
Okay. Can you scroll down for me, please? Yeah, it's hard to it's great. It's hard to find something even to be nitpicky about. On to David.
A small note about the previous comment about the updated history event. For example, on Maven packages, we can just upload not new versions, but you can upload new archives for the same package name and same version, and the files just get appended to the package, and that's an update. And there isn't any limit to that. So you could be having update entries as much as many as you want.
Good to know.
Otherwise, to me, on the tabs, the details, dependencies, and other versions, it's a bit strange to me because the two first ones are related to the given package name and version, but the other versions is related more to the list of a given package name. And it's like we are mixing two layers together. So I guess I have a strange feeling about seeing these ones.
That's a good call out. They are a little different categorically. I'll look into it and address it and make sure that it doesn't cause a jarring or weird experience to be together.
You should go with like a shopper experience. You may also want to check and then other version of the same package. Sorry.
Yes. No, I love that. We should have the other people who looked at this package also enjoy these packages.
Good one. On to Nico.
We are actually at time, almost. We have one more minute. Does anybody have any other feedback they would want to include today? This was all really great. Thank you.
I have a question for the files section.
Yes.
Can we browse them? Like clicking on the file will open it, or?
I would like to get to the point that we can do that and just follow the pattern GitLab uses for opening a file and it shows it, and just kind of, instead of having the files tab open in the navigation, it would still be the package registry. I don't know how technically difficult it is, but I would like to see it. Even moving into the container registry, being able to see the Docker file would be something equivalent, that it would be nice to be able to see the files themselves.
For our first iteration, we can send them to the raw file URL. That's something that we always have, right? If it's checked out in the, oh, that's not in the versioning system. Never mind.
No, it's actually the contents of the archive for package managers that do send archives. And as far as I know, the only archives we open to read the files is NuGet to get the metadata of the file, and that's it. So we would need to expand this archive reading to all package types.
Gotcha. I can open up just a whole new separate issue that's not contained in this epic that would be devoted to looking at the files. I've heard it from users that it would be handy, so I think it would be valuable, and we can get it into the backlog and address its fullness when we're ready for it. I do think it's a good idea, though. All right. Any other feedback? Last chance? All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for the feedback. It was really good. I'm hoping to revise the design, create the issue, and then on Friday we have a conversation, Tim, Nico, and I, about what to prioritize in terms of all the designs we have going on. But I hope to see this live soon because it's a big improvement. All right, I think Tim is up next. And thank you, everyone, for taking notes. By the way, I appreciate it. I just saw them.
Perfect. I did have one question about the README. Would that be auto-populated? Like, does the package normally come with a README? Or is that something like they would have to, would we link, they would have the option to add one or to generate it?
The original issue that I put together was the idea that a package that contained a README, we would show it. I don't know how popular that is. I know that different package managers handle it differently. To be honest, this was a response to the Terraform module, which usually includes a README. And so I was wanting to satisfy that need across multiple registries. I think it will require some technical investigation per package manager format to really figure that out.
Okay. That'll be cool when we have it, though.
It has the same technical needs as to showing files. You need to open the archive, extract the files, and look for the README file.
Cool.
When you publish a package from npm, I think it takes the README from the URL of the repo, like the main README of the version control of Git.
But that's the case where the project is the package, but for us, that may not be always the case. Someone might have a project that's a mono repo and it just so happens to have some packages in it, so the READMEs won't align as well, but we could do that as a first iteration.
You can even have a project without any code at all. You can create a project without initializing it with a README, so an empty project, and still be using the package features.
Okay, so something to think about, but definitely we need to open an issue for the pulling files from the archive if we want to display any files, whether that's the README or the actual files themselves. Okay, I could open that issue as a follow-up.
Don't forget the ThinkBIG label.
I won't. I hear Dan in my head just all the time saying that. Cool. Well, I'm going to pause the recording because the next item, I feel like it's delicate, so I don't want to say anything that would be not correct. So.